Mayor of Crossville, we hereby call this regular scheduled meeting of the Crossville City Council of Tuesday, December the 11th, 2012 to order. As a matter of policy and tradition of this City Council, we begin each meeting with the invocation given by a member of the Cumberland County Ministerial Association, followed by the presentation of the flags and the Pledge of Allegiance by the Young Marines. It's my honor and privilege to present this certificate of commendation to the student of the month is Riley Smith, present, and your family. Will they come forward? This certificate of commendation is presented to Riley Smith, the student of the month for December 2012. Fourth grade student Riley was nominated by teachers for the character trait caring because Riley is always concerned for others. If someone is sad or crying, she tries to cheer them up. She also thinks about her actions and words because she doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Join with me in congratulating this fine young lady. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. Is Spencer Pack here? All right. We missed Spencer last month. Step forward, and your family too. It's my honor and privilege to present this certificate of commendation to Spencer Pack, the student of the month for November 2012. Seventh grade student Spencer Pack was nominated by his teachers for the character trait manners because Spencer is mindful of others. He truly tries to listen and converse with others respectfully. He seems to offer encouragement and sympathy when needed. Spencer is patient as well by waiting his turn and allowing others to express their thoughts. Join with me in congratulating Spencer. Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all. Do we have representatives of the Model Railroad Club with us today?
Yes, sir.
Come on up here, guys. As a point of introduction to those, come right this way and we'll face this way. As a point of introduction, the Model Railroad Club is in the Outlet Mall on the Genesis Highway, as most of you all know. And when they first started this wonderful program, they had a room about a tenth the size of this room right here, and they had one very, very small table with model railroads. Now it's half the size of this room, and it's filled with model railroads. You have the floor, sir.
I'll give it to our presidents. Okay, I'm Neil Ferenczi, the president of the club. As the mayor said, we run a lot of trains. We've got about 5,000 square feet of all different sizes of trains. And one of the things that we have been trying to do now and trying to promote for the future is get more people into the mall and into Crossville, basically to spend some money, help us all keep going and keep doing it. We have roughly 80 people that are members of our club, the 80 men, and we also have an auxiliary group now called the Choo Choo Girls. And they just are a supplement and they help us out with their stuff. We're trying to figure out some of the ways that we could promote the town and things like that. Crossville used to be a major hub. It's by the railroad, and it hasn't been. So one of the things that we have created is a model car. This is HO scale car, and the car itself says Crossville Model Railroad Club as far as that goes, but it also says Route 2, Crossville, Tennessee. And now what we're going to do with this, we're going to all the national magazines, we're going to all the clubs in the general area, and trying to promote and work within the organizations that we have to be able to promote Crossville and obviously the train club. We'd love to have you see it come in. It doesn't cost a penny, we're wide open, and I'm sorry I'm making a commercial on it.
Yeah, we need a lot of them.
But realistically, and the Choo Choo Girls, by the way, also came up with a cookbook that they're doing, which includes railroad stuff as well as a lot of local stuff. So we're presenting this to the mayor.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. All right, that sounds good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, join with me in congratulating the Crossville Model Railroad. Okay, we have members of the Crossville Softball Association. There's Ted. Come right on up here, sir.
Got Ben Smith and Bob Turner with me tonight, and we just on behalf of senior softball, the city has been our sponsor at the state Olympics for the last 5 years, and we now have 120 players playing in senior softball in Crossville. 70 of us, or 30 of us over 70, 33 of us over 70, so we have a good time. And we're the talk of the state of Tennessee as far as softball is concerned. We had 60 senior players playing at the state senior Olympics in Franklin this year. And we brought home 2 gold medals and 1 silver medal. And you don't happen to have a dormant in the hall, so we thought we'd give you some plaques hanging up in here. I don't know what you did for the ones down. But we appreciate the whole council. All y'all appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All three, our 60 team, our 65 team, and our 75 team, were all the winners down in Franklin, Tennessee.
Well, thank you all very much, and on behalf of the city of Crossville, we want to tell you all how much we appreciate you traveling to Houston last year, and I think to Cleveland next year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, congratulations, and represent us well, and bring back the gold.
We will.
Ladies and gentlemen, in 2001, we started the Christmas card contest where the children that are in art classes at our schools prepared Christmas cards that are later chosen for the winners of each school, and then we have them printed, and we sent out over 600 Christmas cards this year, and the city council signed all of them. So at this time, 7 schools participated in the annual Christmas card contest. An overall grand prize winner was chosen, and a winner chosen from each school. The following students were chosen as winners, and if you all would, please come forward. I'm going to give them their names. Some of these folks couldn't be with us tonight. From Pleasant Hill Elementary, Collie Piper was 12 years old. She won Pleasant Hill. And from North Cumberland Elementary, Alicia Rollins, 14 years old. Is Alicia here? Would you come forward? Yes, there she is. Ladies and gentlemen, Alicia Rollins, the North Cumberland. From Glen Martin Elementary, Ellie Sanders, 12 years old. Is Ellie here? Congratulations, Ellie. From Cumberland Mountain High School, Rebecca Stapleton, 16 years old. Rebecca, congratulations. From South Cumberland Elementary, Andrew Johnson, he's 11 years old, but he couldn't be with us tonight. Stone Elementary, Riley Allen, 8 years old. Is Riley here? Very well. And ladies and gentlemen, the grand prize winner is Tanata Imutita from Crab Orchard Elementary. She is 14 years old and a 7th grader. She receives $100, and her teacher, Jennifer DeHart, receives $200 for use in the classroom. Ms. DeHart is with Tanata tonight. Thank you all very much. Thank you all so much for participating. We really appreciate you all being here tonight. Congratulations. Let the minutes show that all members of the Crossville City Council were present. Item number 2 tonight are the appointments. Number A is the election of Mayor Pro Tem. The floor is now open for nominations from the floor for Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Marlowe.
I feel that Danny White's done a great job on this, and I'd like to make the motion that we continue to use Danny as Mayor Pro Tem.
Do you have any objections, Mr. White?
I appreciate the compliment, Mr. Marlowe. I'd be glad to say.
Very well. All in favor signify by saying aye to elect Mayor Pro Tem Danny White for another 2-year term. All say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The motion carries. Congratulations, Dan. Item number B is the appointment to the Regional Planning Commission. Are there any nominations from the floor concerning the Regional Planning Commission?
Nobody else has one. I'd like to nominate Mr. George Marlowe.
Very well. Mr. Marlowe, would you accept? Very well, thank you. All in favor of placing Mr. George Marlowe on the Crossville Regional Planning Commission signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The motion carries. Item number 2C is the appointment to the Joint Economic Development Board. The floor is now open for nominations.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Jesse Curry. Nobody else has.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Curley. The floor has received its nominations. All in favor of appointing Mr. Jesse Curley to the Joint Economic Development Board, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Curley. Item number 3 is the consent agenda, items A through H. A through H. Do any of you all individually or collectively like to pull that, or is there a motion to approve?
I would like to pull B and H.
D and H. D and H.
D or B?
D.
D and H. Item number D is annexation of 10.07 acres on the Lantana Road for Ace Hardware. The floor is now open for discussion.
After reviewing the charter of the city, I found within the charter the boundaries of the city. Both these annexations are outside the boundary of the city as outlined in the charter. We don't have the authority to annex. The page of that is page 8 of the charter. It goes on to outline what the boundaries are, and then it goes on to outline where at one point the city had tried to annex some land and it was judiciously declared void. I think we need to table this till we look at what the boundaries of the city are as outlined in the charter.
Under 1101 that was passed many years ago, we went to the county and had the land that would be used for annexation to consider. It was voted upon by the city, the county, and all necessary individuals. Ms. Oglesby, did this 10.7 acres lie within the growth plan of the city?
Yes, it's within our growth plan that's been approved by the state of Tennessee. And by annexing it, we are connecting to our current boundaries using Lantana Road, which is how you annex.
Are we saying that the boundaries within the charter are invalid?
Those are the original boundaries of the incorporation of the city.
Do we need to modify them?
No, they are modified with by annexation ordinances. You don't modify them in the charter, they're done by ordinance.
Do you have any further questions?
Not at this time.
Very well. Is there a motion to approve items, well, wait a minute, you had one more. Item number 8, I
That's
believe.
the same thing we applied today.
Okay.
I move to approve all those things.
There's been a motion to approve through the consent agenda, items number 3A through H. I'll be glad to second that motion. Is there further comments, questions, or concerns? There being none, roll call vote.
Councilman Souza,
Aye.
Councilman White,
Aye.
Councilman Marlowe,
Aye.
Councilman Carter, Mayor Graham.
The motion carries. Item number 4 tonight is the bids and purchases on the records management system by the police department. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. As mandated by the state, the police department has been forced to look at a new records management system. And they're recommending that we utilize and go with TriTech Visionaire for use by the Records Division for the Police Department. The purchase price is $125,897.25. We recommend that the purchase be split into an initial down payment of the $25,897.25 upon contract signing, and the remaining be financed over a 3-year time span at an expected interest rate of 3.037%. Funds for this purchase are to come from the drug fund. We are requesting that the council approve the purchase of the records management system with a down payment of $25,897.25 from the drug fund. We're also requesting that the council approve the payment of the $35,852 each year for the next 3 years from the drug fund, and that you pass a budget amendment this evening in the amount of $25,897.25 on the first reading. If there is discussion desired, Ms. Wendy Davis is here and has carried this ball for us and during this whole discussion of the last 90, 120 days, and she stands prepared to conduct a conversation with you if you want to pursue it.
We had a very interesting discussion not too long ago. Chief Beatty, would you come forward for just a second, please? I'd like for you to put on record your recommendation and opinion in regard to the software, please.
From the research that we have done on this company, there was 2 companies that had submitted proposals. And after researching and getting references around the state, around basically the region that the state of Tennessee touches, this was the best company TriTech to go with in this endeavor.
I move to approve, Mayor.
Very well. The legislative text indicates that we approve the purchase of the record management system with a down payment of $25,000 from the drug fund. Approve a payment of $33,333.33 each year plus interest for the next 3 years from the drug fund, and pass a budget amendment in the amount of $25,897.25 on first reading, and give the authority to the mayor of Crossville to sign for the city in regard to the resolution of the governing body of the city of Crossville, Tennessee, authorizing the issuance, sale, and payment of 3-year capital outlay notes, Series 2012, not to exceed $100,000. These notes shall be designated Police Department Software Capital Outlay Notes, Series 2012, and shall be numbered serially from 1 upwards, shall be dated as of the date of issuance, shall be in denominations as agreed upon with the purchaser, shall be sold at not less than 99% of par value and accrued interest, and shall bear interest at a rate or rates not to exceed 4%. I believe the rate is
It's right at 3.1, Your Honor.
3.01, and no event shall the rate exceed the legal limit provided by law. Do each and every one of you understand the motion as presented? Very well. Did we get a second on that?
Not yet, sir.
I'll be glad to second that motion. Thank you very much for your motion, Mr. White. Further comments, questions, or concerns? There being none, roll call vote.
Councilman Souza,
Aye.
Councilman White,
Aye.
Councilman Marlowe, Councilman Carter, Mayor Graham.
The motion carries. Congratulations, Chief. Item number 5 tonight is the marketing report. Mr. Lockett.
Mayor, council, had a few things to bring to your attention. Some of you may have heard, last Saturday we had a Christmas parade. And I just wanted to say just briefly how much I appreciate every nonprofit, every school, every individual that participated, everyone that brought a horse. I know a lot of work and effort went into that parade, and I sincerely appreciate everyone's efforts. We have Tony Perry here tonight. We've so appreciated him, Brian Spielis. We had Ben Loman videotape the parade, and we'll show it at a later date. And so thank them for agreeing to MC the parade. Of course, that big check might help, but we appreciate you. The parade committee, I wanted to mention on that, Steve Hill, Mike Hunter, Terry Ashburn, Leah Crockett, Daryl Sherrill, Joe Miller, and Gary Latham with the rescue squad. Can't say enough about the rescue squad and all their help. Just at the end of the parade, just no one was hurt, and that's what it's all about, and the fun that everyone had. And I want to mention too, others, Daryl Sherrill is unbelievable at what all he pulls and coordinates with the police department. That's something that probably takes an hour and a half to complete, and we meet for 7 months to pull that off. And then Joe Miller with the street department. I mean, it's unbelievable. When Santa Claus got through the end of town, here comes the barricades down and the street sweepers out. So thanks to everyone. I really appreciate it. Wanted to mention too about a couple of golf tournaments that is already on the state schedule that is outside this year's budget. We wanted to get some input from the council if we want to continue those or not. The Women's Open is in July, and the State Team Championship. And that's something that needs to be decided if we want to continue or what the mayor would like to for me and discuss with the city manager. However, the council feels like that needs to be handled, but we need to let those folks know that if there's not intentions.
What do you think the cost is going to be this year?
It'll be the same councilman as it's previous year. The Women's Open, the sponsorship fee is $25,000. State team is $15,000.
But you were working on maybe getting some applied to that $25,000 possibly.
I am. In fact, I worked on that today. We've got a really good sponsor lined up, I hope. But I don't want for the council to think that might be any less as of right now.
Well, that's what we're known for. I think we've got to play golf, Mayor.
Well, I'd like to address this. We've got $25,000, and we're talking about what we did last year. It wasn't $25,000. It was closer to 40.
That's true.
Well, with the-
25,000 is the sponsorship.
That's right. Then we had the promotion, and then we bought the PGA thing. I think we need to deal with this in a workshop before we make a commitment here, especially since we're out of the budget on that.
Bill, when do these folks need to know something in regard to that?
Yesterday.
Okay. We're known for the Gulf capital of Tennessee, and maybe there's some things that we might be able to do to decrease the other parts of the cost that we have, besides the sponsorship fee. Of course, we know that to do this, we have to have the sponsorship fee, and that's the 25 and the 15, but one of the things that we might be able to work on is the other parts of the thing.
Every year we tried to add something at no additional cost. A few years ago we started the programs, and we've done those, and those have been very well received, and that was at no additional cost. The scoreboard, we raised some money last year in addition to what the city has done. Every year we add a little something to it, so
Anybody that hadn't been out that saw this thing for, what is it, 3 days?
Yes.
I mean, it's big. I went out there this year. This Crossville gets a lot of attention. These folks come back to play golf here.
That's right.
They spend money at all the business.
Ken?
This state team championship is held at Kansas.
That's right.
And if what I'm hearing is correct, maybe we should let them know that we would like to keep the women's open and let the state team championship go to some other golf course in some other area. That would decrease our expenditures some $15,000 to $20,000, and it took us many years to get those tournaments here, and if it be the will of the council, that would be my recommendation. If we're going to cut back, I really feel like the women's championship, gentlemen, is a premier event across the state of Tennessee, and it took us years and years to get that tournament here in Crossville, whereas the state team championship is a one-day event, and it's a two-day event, and it doesn't have the following as the women's open does. However, I must tell you all that we played in it. It's a great tournament, and I'll miss it. But if it's to the point where a decision has to be made on these, and it would be my recommendation to keep the women's tournament and the team championship go.
Billy, I have a question for you. I'm basing this on what the constituents have come and talked to me about in the city. There's some bitterness about us sponsoring a golf tournament in Fairfield Glade. Can Fairfield Glade not carry part of that $25,000?
Well, it is possible. There's two entities out there. There's the community club and then the developer.
I would think that we need to approach them and ask them to co-sponsor this.
One of the things, Mr. Loggins, we tie up their golf course for 3 days, do we not?
It's more like a week of the practice rounds.
Yeah.
And I guess Councilman Souza, they feel like they put in a tremendous amount of equity and skin in this to give up their golf course for that period of time. Stonehenge is one of the premier golf courses in the country, not just in the state of Tennessee, and I feel like that they already have put in quite a bit as far as donations, and they have their crews there extra time. There's over 300 volunteers in the Fairfield area that open up their homes and become marshals around the golf course. It is a premier event, and I feel like they have participated to a great extent, and would not request any more from them.
Mayor, I'd like to ask the city manager's opinion. I hadn't spoken to him on this since the last time it happened.
Councilman White, I have observed this ongoing conversation for the last 15 months, and I've tried to understand why we do what we do and why we spend like we do. I have concluded, and I have come to my own personal conclusion, that we have two unique brands in our community that have been developed over the years and that we are identified by. And number one is golf. Number two is our Cumberland County Playhouse. When we ask ourselves what we have and that is unique, that no one else, no other community can offer and promote, to me those two brands are important, have become very important to our community. And I share Mr. Sousa's concern about monies being spent, and it's very troubling and difficult to make these decisions. But I also would say we have to keep our eye on the horizon and on the future. And I think I made the statement to the mayor today that I think we can continue our efforts specifically in the golfing arena. But maybe we can be a little smarter. Maybe we can shoot with a rifle instead of a shotgun. Maybe we can use our monies a little more wisely. But Councilman White, that's kind of how I feel. I didn't come to those conclusions lightly, and I don't say it without a lot of responsibility here this evening. So it is a heavy topic, and I respect everybody's concerns about it.
I've got one more comment on this, and that is, it doesn't take a blind hog to see that I'm going to lose this vote. So I recognize that. How we're outside of the budget here bothers me some. I would ask the council to look hard on this being a recurring event. And a lot of people obviously think a lot of this event. I would look hard on the next year's budget to go forward to Fairfield Glade and ask them to share this with us in the future.
I think you're gonna do some of that this year along with some private also, right, Bill? I think one of them that you and I talked about probably could happen.
Yes.
We've already cut, we've got 2 city tournaments, spring and fall. That's a big deal. We've already cut those down before they're really not costing a whole lot. Right.
Right.
This state team, there's about 25 teams.
Yeah, there's roughly 100 players.
I saw some of those guys last year. They like to eat good and they like to drink good liquor. I mean, let me tell you something. And they stay here at least 3 days, so.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue the Tennessee Women's Open and the State Team Championship that's sponsored by the city of Crossville. Is there a second?
I second that.
There's been a motion made and seconded. Further comments, questions, or concerns?
Can we not amend the state? Now, I said a minute ago we weren't going to do this.
What was that, sir?
Didn't you say a minute ago that you were willing to not do the state tournament and just do the Women's Open?
I said if it came to a decision, yes, sir, between the two. I said if it came to a decision between the two, I would choose the Women's Open because it took so long. But
Okay, and so doing, I ask that this motion be amended.
I'm not going to amend this motion. The motion's on the floor. Call for the question.
Councilman Susie?
No.
Councilman White? Councilman Barlow? Councilman Curley? Mayor Grant?
Motion carries. Please continue your report, Mr. Loggins.
A couple of other events that have become very popular and the city's been involved in, that it's already scheduled for 2013. It's the Waterfest event out at our Meadow Park Lake. That is set for July the 6th. And then our sustainability fair has become very popular. That the setup date is Wednesday, the May the 8th, and the actual fair itself on Thursday, May the 9th. Wanted to mention too that I have sent in the proposal to PWSAA on hosting their high school golf tournaments for 2013 and beyond. I'll know the decision sometime in January. Of course, I'll get back to the council on that.
Just a minute, Mr. Loggins. For some of the audience that doesn't know, maybe they would be interested in the numbers that of the individual participants in each division.
That's a 3-week, that's 3 different divisions with 125 kids in each division, 3 consecutive weeks. So it's big numbers.
It is big numbers, and the reason it is not only these 375 kids, but mom and daddy and brother and sister and grandma and grandpa will be coming too. So If we happen to get this, let's make sure that all the hotels and motels and restaurants and grocery stores know about it, because we'll wipe them out as far as gross sales for those particular times.
And then I have mentioned so many times, and I finally got a date, so I said I wasn't gonna mention this anymore, but I've got some news on there. Discovered Upper Cumberland Tourism Business that WCD is putting together through a grant that Tennessee Tech got. It's gonna air on Thursday, January the 10th, on 8 p.m. And that's an hour show on 5 spots in Upper Cumberland, and today turned in my last pieces of information for that. And I've already been told that we're going to be last in that segment, that they wanted Crossville. There were so many things that it's having such a hard decision what they're going to keep, but they wanted the exclamation point with Crossville. So wanted the council to know that, and I can't wait to see the finished product.
Thank you. The floor is now open for any questions of Mr. Lockie.
Billy, you and I talked a while back on there was a possible grant that the gal was gonna write for us or look at on the solar.
Yes.
Did you talk to any more about that?
Yeah, there's something that through the state that maybe have some potential. I don't know if I've sent that to you, but there's a possibility.
That'd be a good deal.
Yeah.
We'll keep that going.
Okay.
Update us on that just as soon as you can, if you will, Mr.
Okay, I will.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's fine. Thank you. Good report.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is matters.
We need to go to Dearborn, please.
Thank you. I hereby recess the regular scheduled meeting of the Crossville City Council and call to order the Crossville Beer Board. Mr. Chief Bailey.
The honorable members of the Crossville Beer Board have an application submitted by the Cumberland Mountain State Farm, a on-premise permit. That is a corporation will recommend the approval of that permit.
Very well. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Marlowe, do you second? There's been a motion made and seconded to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The motion carries.
There is another application submitted by a Sean M. Vogler doing business as Last Call Sports Bar. That is located on Lantana Road, the old Lantana Road, at Portuguese Barbecue. I recommend we deny that application because the submitter does have alcohol charge that he is convicted with, plus his manager also has some felony charges. We recommend we deny that.
So ordered. Further comments or questions in regard to the Crossville Beer Board? I hereby adjourn the Crossville Beer Board and reconvene the regular scheduled meeting of the Crossville City Council. Thank you, Chief. Item number 6 is other business, matters relative to SRO program. Please continue, sir.
Honorable members of the Crossville City Council, the Crossville Police Department, I guess we got into school resource business in 1998 at Cumberland County High School. A little history about it. We had our first SRO in the county, in the city, at CCHS in 1998. That was funded through a Safe Schools grant. That grant has went to the wayside. We still fully fund 2 SROs in both of our high schools. Sergeant Tony Akins at Stone Memorial High School, he's been there for 5 years. And Patrolman John Tolley is at CCHS. He's been there, this will be his 2nd year. Captain John Bilbry last year was at Broadband Elementary. During budget discussions with the city manager and myself, we had to reduce the amount of the budget. And we went and talked to Director Van Winkle about if they could fund that either way. And she made a good point. That is an elementary school. In all fairness to the schools in the county, the other elementary schools, it would be sort of unfair to fund that and to not fund those others. She did not have the resources to fund them. But with 2 SROs right now and in the close proximity of Martin Elementary, SRO John Tolley, he does drop-ins periodically at Martin daily. And other officers drop in occasionally. I spoke with them last week. They say it seems to be working fine, and Mark got into the way we're doing it now. And he also does drop into the Phoenix School and the alternative school, which is located over behind the old city school in the central office.
Floor is now open for discussion in regard to the SRO program. Any questions or concerns of this council in regard to the SRO program? Well, Chief, I'd like to make one comment in regard to that. The SRO program has graduated to something that the city of Crossville is very proud of, and we're very proud of our Crossville Police Department as well. And one of the things that I hear from graduating seniors is how well they feel that they can trust the SRO program in the high schools. And we should try to continue that as well. We receive a lot of information, and we feel like that it curbs problems over at the high school because we have that visibility there.
And it takes a special person to do that. Not every police officer can go in that city and establish a conduit between the students, and the fact that it really takes about 6 months to gain that trust of those students once they're assigned to it. We have 2 very good SROs, and we'll really brag on Sergeant Akins. At the SRO conference in 2010 in Nashville, he received the SRO of the year statewide. And this last year, back in June, he received his president's award from the state SRO.
Congratulations. Thank you for a wonderful report.
Yes, sir.
Item number B is matters relative to the International Mechanical Code. As now required by the state of Tennessee, the International Mechanical Code must be adopted and enforced by the city of Crossville and Cumberland County. Mr. Manager, your comments, please.
Yeah, and Mr. Curley, Jeff Curley, is he present? There he is. He'd come up maybe for a discussion. Jeff has, obviously our codes enforcement manager, and has come to me, and we've had a number of discussions about the 2012 code that we're being forced by the state to adopt. Jeff, you want to just kind of give us a summary of what we're facing?
Yeah, in April, we was audited, and we was informed that the state of Tennessee passed a law in October of 2011 saying that we was required to do mechanical inspections in the city and the county. And at that time, we did not have the certification to do so. So the state was nice enough to give us enough time to get the certification that we were required to do the inspections. I'm kind of on a time crunch now with the state. We should already be enforcing. So it's not an option for the city or county to not do this. It is a state mandate. So the residential, we actually passed under the 2006 residential code. So we just haven't been enforcing it. And the reason I brought this before you tonight is because we have never had a commercial mechanical or fuel gas company.
Is the item number C, matters relative to the International Fuel Gas Code, is that the same situation?
Yeah, that's like a part B of the mechanical code.
Very well. Is there a motion to approve, as required by the state of Tennessee, the International Mechanical Code and the International Fuel Gas Code to be adopted and enforced by the city of Crossville as of this date?
I'll make that motion.
Very well, thank you, Councilman Sousa. Is there a second? Second. There's been a second by Councilman Curley. Further comments, questions, or concerns? There being none, roll call vote.
Councilman Sousa.
Aye.
Councilman Wyatt.
Aye.
Councilman Marlowe.
Aye.
Councilman Curley.
Aye.
Mayor Green.
Motion carries. Item number D is matters relative to plumbing and mechanical permit fees. Would you please continue, sir?
Well, we looked into this. This is going to add more inspections for our department in the county and the city. And I got with some of the other cities that was close to the size of us to see how they was doing their fees. And they charged by so much per thousand, that type of thing. And what I've come up with, I would like to do away with the fees we have now as plumbing, and we have two fees now, one for residential, one for commercial plumbing fees. This would add on 2 more fees. So what I'm requesting is to do away with the permit fees as they are now, combine the mechanical and the plumbing, where you got one fee for mechanical, residential, or commercial, same thing on plumbing. It will average about the same price it would be if you did a separate permit. But it cuts down on the paperwork. They can come in, they put one permit, it takes care of mechanical and plumbing for one fee.
Jeff, I got a question for you on that.
Okay.
The plumbing, the mechanical is done by the air conditioning people generally, is it not?
Yes.
And the plumbing is done by the plumbing people. How is that gonna work? You're gonna have the plumbing people working underneath the air conditioner people?
Well, what we've done here, if you look at our calculations at the bottom, we're gonna calculate the fees, whether it's plumbing or whether it's mechanical, by the square feet.
But the two different trades don't get each other's permit, do they?
That's correct.
Okay.
We'd have one fee, one permit. Even if it's a plumber, he would be getting a plumbing / mechanical permit. And same thing if it was mechanical. I'm trying to eliminate having 4 permits into one. Right now, you'll get one for residential, one for commercial. Same thing on mechanical. With this, we do one permit, whether you're a HVAC contractor or whether you're a plumbing contractor. It will be one permit, same thing, based on square footage.
Well, what Pete's saying, what if both those guys buy a permit, do they both have to buy one?
Good question.
I don't think that, I know as an electrician, I don't want a plumbing permit assigned to me. Vice versa, I went through that with the state with the fire marshal over low voltage. Having somebody else come in and work on my permit. They need to be separate. The
We can
people,
do that. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. Do separate. If I hadn't thought of that. Good question. What we was trying to do is get it where, we just try to simplify it, make it as easy as possible. But that was something I hadn't thought of.
Very well, is there a motion to adopt the plumbing and mechanical fee schedule as recommended by the codes enforcement officer with separate required permits covered under the International Plumbing Code, the International Residential Plumbing Code, I beg your pardon, International Residential Mechanical Code, and the International Fuel Gas Code?
I'll make that motion.
Very well, thank you, Councilman Seuss. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor, but I've got one more question.
Very well, the floor is still open.
Mr. Curley, have you talked to the county on this and declared this with them that we're going to look at?
I made the mayor aware that the state had mandated the mechanical code. Sometime this week, myself and the city managers is going to try to meet with the county mayor to discuss the fees and stuff.
Gotcha.
I think it needs to be said that this motion is just for the city of Crossville, and I think they'll have to adopt our fee schedule if it passes. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Very well. Further comments? There being none, roll call vote.
Councilman Susan?
Aye.
Councilman Wright?
Aye.
Councilman Barlow? Councilman Curley? Mayor Green?
Motion carries. Item number E tonight is matters relative to the Lantana Road and West Avenue signal lights. Mr. Manager.
Currently, the Lantana Road and West Avenue signal light service is the priority to old Lantana Road. With the opening of the new Lantana Road, the street department has realized a significant traffic pattern change. The street department has gathered traffic court data, count data for the area, and it did support the theory of the traffic pattern change. It is recommended that the signal be adjusted to give priority to the West Avenue and Azalea Avenue traffic movement. With this change, the street department would like to remove the stop on West Adams Street at the intersection of Old Mill Road, Gridiron, and West Adams. This change will allow better flow and natural progression of traffic through West Adams Street. Traffic count data does support that this is now the primary flow of the traffic for the intersection. We're asking the council to approve these changes, which require no monetary approval. Yeah, Joe is here.
Sorry, Joe, it's a new building, and I usually sit right over there, the reason I didn't see you.
Or maybe take you to that chair.
All right, okay. Mr. Miller, have you checked with the interested individuals in that area, especially the ambulance drivers and so on?
Yes, sir. In the work session, we had you express concern about the ambulance and everything like that. The next day, I met with Chief Cox, and we sat down and discussed the plans that we have to make the changes in those two intersections. He's seen no problem in any shape, form, or fashion with fire or ambulance either one.
Will it adversely affect any of the property owners being able to get out of the driveway or anything like that?
No, we can tell, and sadly enough, there is a typo. I said Gridiron should be
Should be.
Elmo.
So when people stop at that stop sign, they're not gonna be back. How many cars will that stop sign hold before it backs into somebody, before they back up into a driveway?
I'd say probably 3 or 4 there.
Okay. Well, let's watch that. If this motion passes, if we get a motion and it passes, then we need to watch that. That's the only thing that was bothering me. I can understand the flow. Can't you all see it? It'll flow pretty well that way now that road's come through there, but I was thinking about the other direction. Is there a motion that the signal be adjusted to give priority to the West Avenue and Azalea Avenue traffic movement, and along with this change, to remove the stop on West Adams Street at the intersection of Old Mill Road, not Old Mill Road and Gridiron, Old Mill Road and Elmo and West Adams. This change will allow better flow and natural progression of traffic through West Adams Street. Is there a motion?
I make that motion.
Very well, Councilman Sousa. Is there a second? I'll be glad to second that for the purposes of discussion. The floor is now open for discussion, questions or comments.
I think we have somebody back here wanting to say something. Rick, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'll be glad to. I actually live on that corner right there. I understand the flow of traffic as far as the light on Old Lantana being changed. But as far as closing those or opening those stop signs up, I see no need whatsoever to do that because right now there's been no traffic backing up at those stop signs. And we have people that come through there all the time that runs both ways. And I think it'd be a tragedy to take that stop sign.
You think we'd err on judgment
Yes,
by
sir.
leaving it the way it is? It'd be
Absolutely.
safer?
I think taking that stop sign out would be very unsafe on Elmo and on Mel. It's just, there's a 5-way stop there. I mean, it was a.
And you live there?
I live.
And you see it?
It was a malfunction junction when it was put in.
And I can see that. I saw that. And you see that every day.
I see it every day.
we're going to remove the stop sign. We're looking at removing the stop sign on West Adams at the intersection of Old Mail and Elmo. What we're doing right there, Joe, you need to explain this. We're painting that. Is that not correct? And shifting that over a little bit. Show Mr. Myers what we're doing right there as far as that's concerned, because that traffic will be out of the way right there.
We have our ambulances that comes up, 90% of any type of call that goes out Lantana Road or whatever comes up Gridiron Lane, turns on the Elmo, and then goes into where it's at Adams Street. 90%.
Do you think, Mr. Miller, that we need to leave the stop sign there now with this new information?
Well,
There's
I'm going to investigate some more if I hadn't already spoken to you guys.
There's never been a backup as far as traffic on that portion of Elmo going across the gridiron plan or whatever. But the one that you want to take out on West Adams could be a problem. And it will take the flow of traffic right on down to the Zayden where it does back up. That's right. But where they turn to go across to the hospital right there, there's never been a backup. But I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people that come through there that, runs that stop sign the way it is. And I tell you, you'll have a four-way stop right there.
Maybe we need to get you baby involved in that.
Yeah. All right, do you have any further recommendations, Mr. Manager?
No, I will just say that Joe and Tim and I went out and we rode together. We parked back in the driveways, watched the traffic. There's been extensive discussion about this. We've discussed it in our public works staff meetings. I felt comfortable and assured that we were doing the right thing. I respect his concern as well. There is a clear change in traffic pattern. I come that way to work now every morning, and it just seems that we need to free up that flow coming off of the new Lantana, coming in on West Adams Street. And it's
one of the other things, also, Mr. City I had spoken to Rob Patton several months ago. Once that road is finished, they've got sidewalks now for 5 or 6 miles out through there on a 5-lane road. And then when it narrows down into 2 lanes, the sidewalks in. So we have no sidewalks out there for maybe a couple of 100 yards. And I was talking to Rob, he said, he mentioned to me that he graciously probably donate the property to put a sidewalk in out there because, I mean, we put a lot of traffic from sidewalks into 2 right there.
And there's nothing, I don't think we could do anything to stop that increase in flow of traffic. And we've made a deliberate effort, Joe has, and Steve, Powell and his guys, in trying to mow and clear the right-of-way on each side because of the obvious increase in traffic flow. I don't think we can stop that from developing as far as additional traffic. Came through there today about noon, and it's just surprising to, and I think I called Joe just to tell him about my experience that I had just today coming in, and the volume of traffic that followed me through that and down West Adams. It's very significant, and I think it needs to be addressed, and this was our best answer, at least temporarily, Mayor, with what we have to work with as far as right-of-way. And we're just trying to do the right thing. We have no personal interest or anything else involved.
Very well. Thank you very much, Mr. Myers, Mr. Joel. Further comments, questions, or concerns? There being none, roll call vote.
Councilman Susan?
No.
Councilman Wyatt?
Aye.
Councilman Marlowe? Councilman Curley?
No.
Mayor Grant?
Motion carries. We're gonna try this for a little while, gentlemen. I want it audited. I want numbers and traffic counts, and for sure we want police reports on any accidents and any citations that are issued. Chief Beatty, I'd like for you to put particular emphasis on the fact that we are changing this road, and Joe, we need this information put out in wherever advertisements or things that we need to, especially the people that don't go by there very often, we need them to know what we're doing. Let's audit it and make sure that that we're very careful about this and get the word out. Okay? Okay. Item number F is matters relative to 10th Street improvements.
I would ask you to defer that other part of the
Very well. Item number F is hereby deferred. Item number G is matters relative to the city charter. Councilman Sousa.
I've got about half a dozen of them relative to the city charter. The first one I want to take up is the order of business in which we conduct the city meetings. There's not present on the agenda grievances for citizens. That's outlined in the city charter. That's mandatory by the city charter. We need to have that back in there. Matter of fact, as far as I'm concerned, it's invalid, but it's not even. As far as I'm concerned, right now, every citizen in here has a right to express them. Now, we can't have everybody jumping up and tying up the city councilman, the city council for 15, 20 minutes apiece. And I'm sure that we're going to have to limit time, but it's not even optional as far as I'm concerned.
Very well. Based upon your opinion, the floor is now open for grievances from the city. We'll expect you all to talk 2 or 3 minutes and bring us up to date on what your grievances are. The other thing is, we want to make sure that everyone in this room has the feeling that when they leave here tonight, they can call any one of us on this city council, they can call the city manager, and he'll direct your question to wherever it needs to go in regard to your questions or concerns. I was very happy that Mr. Myers got to speak tonight in regard to his concerns about the stop sign, and please feel free that if you have a question during the day or the week, we've all got cell phones. Pick that cell phone up and give us a call, and we'll see if we can't take care of whatever concern that you have. Please continue, Mr. Sousa.
The other item that I have relative to the city charter is in relationship to the election office. Every year, the state sets a date for the election. They have no control over it. Inside the city charter, it sets a date where we take office. What happens, and has happened in the last 2 elections, is the election commission has been thrown into a nightmare. Have to count and affirm all the votes, and then have an emergency meeting so that by the 19th that we can get sworn in. All that could be avoided if we just modify the dates in the city charter to read, instead of being on the 3rd Monday of November, the 1st Monday in December, just changing the dates inside. And we can save the city election commission a whole lot of problems. And relative to this, since this is a change in the city charter, it has to be voted by 2/3, in other words, 4 of us to pass.
Well, it also has to get approval, of course. This is a private act of the city. And what I'd like to recommend in regard to that, if I may get on your bandwagon, when I was running for office,
there was a lot of folks, well, a few folks in Crossville that owned property in Crossville but couldn't vote. And the reason is that they owned the property in a corporation or a partnership or a LLC, a limited liability company. And what I'd like to do, Mr. Sousa, if you would, is form a committee with you chairing the committee called the Charter Committee. If you and Mr. White, would you work with him on that?
I would love to work with him.
And Mr. Curley, would you work with him on that? And have a three-man committee and report back to us at your convenience in regard to that, and bring us up to date on what you feel like you might be able to do in regard to that. I think it's going to be pretty tough to get changed, because it might put more work on the election commission to verify these property owners like that. But I don't know, maybe you can find out for us.
Actually, that was the next thing on my list, was change the property. So that'll work. Relative to that, there's also an item I'd like to bring to your attention that we need to change when we have that, is in the book, in the charter, where it states that we meet on Tuesday at 6 p.m. on the second, or as you were, at 2 p.m. on the first Thursday, rather than what we're meeting. We need to modify that and get that up to date.
That is modified, in the charter is allowed to be modified by ordinance and was done a number of years ago.
It is, it's not in here.
There is it's not that ordinance is not codified in the code, but there is an ordinance on the books having the 6 o'clock on the second Tuesday.
So be it. Okay. I have no problem with that, man. I have some other ethics issue here, or not ethics, but other charter issues.
Please continue, sir.
Okay. I think that we've put off long enough the issue relative to the abuse of authority, and since it is part of the charter, we might as well bring that up right now. And in so doing, I believe it'd be appropriate if the mayor stepped down and turned the meeting over to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Let the record indicate that because of cause of the abuse of authority by me on November the 29th, that the Mayor Pro Tem is now in charge of the meeting.
Continue, Mr. Sousa.
Okay. I have seen the apology in the newspaper, and I've heard the apology. I see no point at this time to go over and hash this out and bring about a line item of what the events were that day. I would like to make note that there's been similar complaints before. But once again, I do not want to go into detail and go down. The mayor's acknowledged that this has occurred. I want to make a statement here, and the statement is this. The city employees of Crossville will not be subjected to abuse by any officer of the city of Crossville, period. And that it ends today. Nor will any officer of the city of Crossville ask for special favors. That ends today also. As such, I would like to make a motion, and there's any number of things that could be brought in line according to the city charter, and the least of which is an admonishment, which is a warning. I make a motion this time that the mayor be warned not to do this again.
Second for discussion.
There's been a motion and a second. The floor is now open for discussion.
I have a question for our city manager. Has any employee filed a complaint?
No.
Do you have a complaint?
No.
Well, personally, I'm proud of the leadership of Mayor Graham. I think he's helped the city a lot. I recognize that he's helped with the cooperation of other city employees to bring in some $33 million of grants to our city. We all need to recognize that without these grants, our city tax rates would be much higher and our services would be much higher. Mayor Graham in 2009 was Tennessee Emotional League Mayor of the Year, and that is all over the state of Tennessee. Like I say, I'm proud to serve with the mayor, and I think he's done a lot for the city of Crossville.
I have one more comment to make. People look at moving forward as a new sidewalk, a new volleyball court. The work environment is also a place where we need to move forward. And I want to make that statement because that's what it's about, is a work environment.
Mr. Carter, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm curious if the mayor has apologized to these employees. And, you know, I had an issue with this whenever I served beforehand. And, my question is, if the mayor's truly sorry for conducting himself in this manner, just sorry that he got called out on it, because this is not the first time that this has happened. I'm not going to list the numerous employees, or say the employees that I've got listed here, but this is very unacceptable in my opinion to address a city employee in this manner and cause them the grief of trying to sleep at night, wondering if they're going to get fired because they was addressed in this manner. And as long as I'm here, this ain't happening again.
I'd like to make a comment. I've sat with Mayor Graham for a little over 2 years now, and he and I have locked horns big time. He'll vouch for that. Within a couple of days, we're right back together pulling forward for the city. And it's usually been him that's come to me. I have made a mistake and screwed up as bad as he has. So I keep sitting here and condemning for it. So I feel like that he has apologized, he's recognized it's wrong. And I've never seen anything out of him in 2 years enough like this. And that's all I've got to go on. So we have a motion and a second, right, Sally?
Yes, you do, sir.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
Councilman Wyatt,
No.
Councilman Marlowe,
No.
Councilman Curley, Mayor Graham.
I can't vote because of the conflict of interest.
Mayor, I'll be happy to turn the meeting back over to you.
Thank you. Please continue, Mr. Sousa.
Okay, well, next item is the airport. Is the airport manager aboard here tonight?
That'll be the next item, Mike.
Are you finished with your charter information?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I am. I think we need to lay this whole thing to bed. Yes.
One of the things that I asked you is that you would form a charter committee with you and Mr. White and Mr. Curley, and look into the two things that you brought up tonight, and if you could, report back to us in the work session that we're going to have before our January meeting, if that would give you enough time. If not, just bring us up to date and let us know how you're doing on those two issues. Item number H is matters relative to the airport. Mr. Bennett, you and Mr. Sousa have the floor.
Mr. Bennett, I've got some questions for you. You are now a single base operator, are you not?
Yes.
Is that pretty much tantamount to being the airport manager?
Sorry, what?
Is that tantamount to being the airport manager?
I am the airport manager also.
Okay. That within the contract, it's kind of vague. That's why I asked that one. Who wrote this contract, by the way? I tried to determine who wrote it. Was it your attorney or was it a city attorney? believe it was city, okay. We had a aircraft accident, did we not?
Back in October?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Did you brief the city council?
No.
Did you think it was important that you had an accident?
Yes.
What was the cause of that accident?
Undetermined.
The FAA said it was undetermined?
Yes.
Okay.
They have sent the box. That particular aircraft was a home built. And it had equipment on it that they kind of pieced together the last moments of what he was doing. And that was sent off to Washington. As far as I know, Rocky hasn't done anything. FAA hasn't done anything.
Oh, so the report's not concluded?
Yeah.
You've not followed up on it?
No, he's going to let me know.
I think as a manager, you need to follow up and check from time to time. Those aircraft fly over the citizens of Crossville. If there's an accident, that's a significant event. That's a significant event for the airport manager, and he needs to praise the city council as to what's going on down there. Enough of that. I'd like to talk to you about that flag and Veterans Day. Okay? I was ashamed that we didn't fly a flag at the airport on Veterans Day. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no excuse for it, and I do not want to hear about that again, please. Okay. Since you've taken over, the airport has went from black to the red. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay. Well, before you took over, the airport was in the black. I checked on the records. Now we're very much in the red. And I've checked the details of the contract, and there's some things there that somewhat bother me, okay? How many rental cars have you got out there?
I have 3.
What is a city car for?
The city car is a courtesy car provided for folks that fly in, corporate aircraft, pilots, or the people on the airplane going for meetings, where the pilots going to eat lunch, or people stop there, transient folks, they stop down to eaters, things like that.
I have a problem with that. And my problem, gentlemen of the council, is that we're probably the only airport doing it. That's what those rental cars for, and that's what the taxis are for. We're providing a city vehicle. Who drives that vehicle?
Pilots.
Oh, you just give the keys to the pilots?
Yes. But no, that is pretty common across most airports. I've been to a lot of airports, and they do have a courtesy car.
I have a letter in regard to that, Mr. Bennett, that I'd like to put part of record, please. This is addressed to J.H. Graham, the mayor of Crossville. Dear Mr. Graham, on Saturday, November the 3rd, 2012, I flew with 4 of my friends to the Crossville Memorial Airport for the purpose of having lunch at the Cumberland Mountain State Park. I would like to comment on the hospitality and service we received from your FBO, Crossville Aero. When we arrived, we were in 3 airplanes. We were greeted promptly on the radio asking what services we were required and if they could be of any assistance. I inquired as to an automobile that we might use for our trip to the park, and we were offered the city's auto or the FBO's auto, which we used because of the size of our group. After a very good lunch, we returned to the airport and again was greeted with a smile and asked how our lunch was. The facilities were clean and well kept. The airport looks as good as I've ever seen it. I've had the occasion to fly into Crossville several times in my 50 years of commercial and recreational flying in this area, and your airport certainly reflects a community that prides in its airport, and that pride and dedication to customer service shows in the operation of the FBO. My hat's off to you, sir, and your FBO for a great airport. And this is signed Albert Lupe.
Do I have the floor again, Mayor?
Yes, you do.
Okay. I still think it's inappropriate the city providing and competing with the taxis of this city. Moving on, do you provide wire service there?
Wireless?
Yeah, wire service.
Yes.
Who pays for that wire service?
I do.
Who maintains the buildings?
Well, cleaning wise, I have a couple ways I make it clean. But, changing my whole things like that, toilet paper, that is by the city.
Is that what the
city pays for that?
is that what the contract calls for?
Yes.
I think it does. Yeah.
I have a goal, and my goal is that by the end of this year, the airport's gonna be back in the black, okay? As such, city manager, I'm gonna give to you a work list for him to fill out. I want an analysis of money that's coming in and going out, and I want it broke down. Who's doing the contracts to the hangars?
I handle all the T-hanger contracts.
Okay. I make a motion this time that that vehicle be returned to the city.
Is there a second to that motion?
I would second it, Mr. Souza, if we give Mr. Bennett the opportunity to buy that car at fair market value.
That's the next,
We'll get out of business.
that's the next thing I was gonna do, is try to liquidate it. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, we'll give him the opportunity. If he don't want it, we can sell it.
That'll work.
There's been a motion and a second. The floor is now open for discussion. Mr. Morano.
This courtesy car that we're talking about is, I believe, an old police car that's been retired, probably 200,000 mile car. If I remember, last year we got 2 of these cars to the county, Simcaw's office. I have to check to see, but we have, what, $500 a year budget on that?
Yes.
Gentlemen, we were rated by the Beacon Center of Tennessee as the highest rated business-friendly community in local government. And it takes a long time to build a good reputation and a lot of hard work. And I feel like this courtesy car is just a very small part of what the city does at very little cost. And, sometimes it costs a little bit to be courteous, but sometimes it costs a lot not to be courteous. And I would like to see us continue to use this car in this manner, and I think it's an asset to the city.
You agree with that, Chris?
I do.
I feel the same way.
We use that car, that car is used by, we have enough people that come in here and use that car without buying another car. So we've got a crew car no matter what. Even if y'all took that away, I've still got a car. But you've got people that find, especially in the summertime, they come in here and they got kids going to the carnival and Foot Fest and they go eat, and their people come in all the time. And you find everybody in here. I'm not saying anything bad about the taxis, but people that call them, it takes 30, 40 minutes. If you come here and stop down gas and people down the road, you don't spend an hour there.
My experience,
It's pretty common to have that person.
my experience of running motor pools, and I have a lot of experiences, when you have the U drives, you lose control of the vehicle, both relative to alcohol consumption, accidents, and everything else. And I think it's a risk that we don't need to be dealing with.
You're interested in talking with the city manager about purchasing that vehicle?
Well, we've determined the value, we got 2 of them away already.
Yeah. I'll amend that then for the second time, Mr. Sousa. If you'll agree, we'll give it to Chris and he can operate. We've established a pattern.
I'm waiting just a second here, okay? Let me think about this just a second. I would agree to that and ask that Chris do something do a donation to some charity for the public in lieu of payment for that. At his choice of the charity.
Ms. Oaks, would you read the message? Would you read the motion, please?
I believe that the motion is to remove the courtesy car and give it to the FBO And if the seconder is willing to take the amendment, ask that the FBO contribute something of value to a charity of his choice.
Very good.
Thank you. And Mayor, there's a gentleman that would like to comment back in the back.
Okay.
May I make a comment, sir?
Sure, yes, sir.
I
Come forward.
apologize to you, I'm not familiar with your operation, how it goes about, but I'd like to make a few comments concerning some questions and some things that have been said concerning the...
Would you step forward? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Mr. Cameron, I can't, I know who you are, I just can't hear you.
Okay, I'd like to address the council. Thank you, gentlemen, for hearing me. I apologize again, I'm not familiar with how all this city stuff works. But anyway, I think that in comments from the standpoint of the courtesy car, I go to airports that offer me a courtesy car, that's where I stop, that's where I buy gas, that's where I do business. That's the reason why this courtesy car, John C2 Airport in Nashville is one that I've used their courtesy car. I've used some courtesy cars in other places, so I think it's very important that it brings people in, it brings them stopping because of that. And I think also some of the other things that I'm not sure, when you're dealing with the FFA, that's a different, the FAA, there's a different category of people. They don't, they're government, and you just think, you do kind of what they tell you, and you'll check on it whenever they tell you can check on it from that standpoint, because I just got to buy the plane, and they don't take my recommendations or whatever. I know maybe from the standpoint of the red and the black of the ink, this airport, from the time Mr. Bennett take over, a very young man of honest integrity. I'm very proud to be a part of the airport out there and the pilot, because he does what he says and says what he'll do. And you can depend upon that. The people that's been out there prior to that, I'm not sure if it was the red or the black of the ink on the airport, but people, you couldn't trust what they said that they would do. I know one individual prior to him, the FAA was getting ready to do an investigation of him because he was turning out more annuals than he should be turning out on airplanes. So from that standpoint, I think we have to call the individual in charge of that place out there. If you want to get into a money pit that's sort of red and black, let the city take over this airport, like Abington, Virginia, which I spent probably 30 hours of training up there over the last 2 years. It's a city-operated airport where fuel is $1.75 cents to $1 more than the airport up the road that's operated by an individual such as Mr. Bennett. Because of that, the city, and the people you pull in there, I've never heard the people, when I landed there in my plane, call me on the radio and ask me if I needed services. And I've never been at the airport here local if Mr. Bennett or someone of his employment didn't call an aircraft before it ever got up to the ramp and ask him if they needed services prior to them getting in there if it wasn't a local plane that they recognized. So I think that from that standpoint, there's a lot of things going on out at the airport that, that you're probably not seeing. Maybe sometimes the red and the black doesn't actually indicate what this airport is and what he's built this airport up to be.
Okay, let me comment on this, a number of things here. First of all, as a manager, any manager, you always follow up on things. That's a given. And I understand the bureaucracy of government. Two, we have a problem, I think, maybe, when we eliminated the airport commission, okay? We're sitting here, up in the council, he's sitting there running, and there's nobody in between anybody. I think we need to look at that down the road. But at this point, I have no further questions. I'm going to do a worksheet. I would like to see some numbers and things. I want to do a little bit of an analysis on this and see if we can't bring this back into the black. I owe that to the taxpayers. And your comments are appreciated, sir.
I think the commission that you were talking about committee would be an excellent addition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cameron. Appreciate your comments. Further comments, discussion? Roll call vote.
What's happening on the car, Mayor?
We forgot. We're giving him the car.
Well, we hadn't voted yet. We need to read the motion one more time, Ms. Oglesby.
That we remove the courtesy car and give it to the FBO and ask that he make a charitable contribution to the charity of his choice.
I'd like to make a charitable kind of contribution in his name, $100 to the Women's Open.
Thank you very much, Bob, so accepted. We shall, and make a note of it, Ms. Oglesby.
One other question I have also, if we give it to Chris, then that's going to also throw some liability over them. Also, how's this car now as far as insured?
It's insured.
Insured with the fleet of vehicles that are with the city?
Well, it sure is, Mr. Manager.
Presently, it would be insured just like all city vehicles on the street.
Whether we want to push that over to the airport manager to be responsible for insurance on this?
He's a contractor, he's controlling that vehicle.
Well,
His compensations are pretty good.
I personally like to see the courtesy car as a courtesy to Crossville, Tennessee.
I appreciate your comment, Mr. Marlowe. One of the things that I tried to exhibit in the letter that we just read was that people that come to trade with us in Crossville expect a courtesy car and appreciate a courtesy car and have written letters in regard to the courtesy car. I just believe that we need to keep it as well, and there's no other comments. Roll call vote.
Councilman Sousa,
Aye.
and Councilman Wyatt.
Can I vote against myself, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna vote no. I think a lot of Mr. Hank Kimmer back there, and I appreciate his comment.
Councilman Marlowe,
No.
Councilman Curley,
No.
Mayor Graham.
No, motion fails. Do you have anything else to discuss about the airport, Mr. Sousa?
I did not, sir.
Very well. Item number I is matters relative to the Big South Fork Visitor Center. Councilman Sousa.
This is going to be short. This is just a statement. On the 18th, the bids are either going out or coming in on South Fork. And there's two arguments here. One argument is that I, as a new councilman, should honor the oath commitments. Then there's another argument out there that the people elected me for change. I'm just going to make a statement that I'm not for the Big South Fork at this time. I'm going to let it go with that. That's all I have to say about the whole issue.
Let the record record Mr. or Councilman Sousa's opinion. Right now, the way I understand it, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Big South Fork Visitor Center is expecting the city of Crossville to contribute $125,000 as the local match of the construction project that's now being undertaken by the county, and also to fund 50% of the expenses of the visitor center in operation. Is that pretty well summed up?
That is, except for the time that's involved. Is it 10 or 20 years?
It's a 20-year commitment, and Mayor, it's $120,000.
Okay, it's $120,000, and we're in this for 20 years. As a point of order, in that, to change, and I'll need a little help on that. For this current council to do that, would it require one of the people that voted for it to bring that back up again?
I did some research on this. I have my notes. I can bring up something in a readdressal, I believe, but I have no point at this time to do that.
Are you? We have a point of order, Mr. Attorney. On the Big South Fork Visitor Center, for it to be brought up again for reconsideration, it would require that a person that voted yes for approval to bring it back up, or a new councilman to bring it back up. Is that correct?
I think that's correct, Your Honor.
All right. The bids will be open on the 18th, as I understand. And have we called a special call meeting on the 18th?
We are planning on doing that, yes. We've not called it yet, but yes, that's
It's on the-
it's that I have everybody's agreed to do that on 18th at 5 o'clock. I just haven't prepared
It's on
to
the
call you.
agenda. It's on the agenda.
It's on my schedule, but the actual call has not been issued or the agenda set,
Well,
so.
that's what I started to say, I hadn't seen it yet.
No, so we
Well,
can
Big
put
South
that on
Florida
there.
Welcome Center on the agenda if we need to. If we don't need to talk about it, we won't, we do it, we will.
I'll be glad to
Does
do
that
it.
satisfy you, Councilman Sousa?
That's fine. I was just stating the position is all that I'm doing.
Item number J, matters relative to city employee benefits, Councilman Sousa.
Okay, the last meeting that we were in here, I was a spectator down there. And the meeting, for lack of better words, became very chaotic. The motion to change the benefits of the city employees was on order. It was put forth. At one time, it was my observation that there was actually two motions on the floor at the same time. It's my belief that I don't know that the councilman who voted really knew what they voted for. There was so much confusion going on. And I would like to amend the previous increase, the previous decision, and I would like to bring it back before the council. And I would ask the council that a motion be made at this time that the employees' benefits remain the same that they were before the last meeting, except that the deductible be changed from $2,000 to $2,500. And I know without a doubt that this is going to create a lot of work for the HRO and a lot of work for a lot of people. But the right thing is the right thing. We've asked these employees to do a lot. Well, they've watched the city spend money, a lot of money. And the morale is not good out there. And the people need to know, the employees need to know that we're out there and we're looking after their interests, and that they're not the point that we reach in to the pocketbook and cut them first and let other things slide by. And that's why I'm asking for this. And leadership is not always doing the right thing, or is always doing the right thing, but not doing the easy thing. And I ask this council to reconsider this.
What is your motion in regard to the deductible from 3,000 back to 2,500?
From before that went, it was 2,000. I'm asking that it be changed to 2,500. I think it was like line C, but there was a lot of confusion before. And then everything else remained the way it was before the last meeting.
Is there any way we could put this off to our special call where we can have all that information in front of us?
Well, I think that's,
I don't think that would be.
I think that's very proper, Mr. Curley. I'm cold on it right now, and I don't know the numbers.
I saw the papers, that's been a month ago, I can't remember.
Did you figure up how much that is? What are we talking?
Fred and I discussed it. I think what Councilman Sousa is referring to, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a component of our recommendation that we revert back to what is commonly known and referred to as the doer plan. In that we, regarding our dependents that we have enrolled on our insurance plan, that we as employees would pay 50% of the premium. The other component of that recommendation was that on the dependent portion of our coverage, that the employee pay half of the increase that we were experiencing, which was a total of 6% increase, and the employee would be saddled with 3% of the increase. I think it's about, Fred, didn't we say it's about like $36,000?
Yes, sir. That's the entire 6%.
When does this insurance go into effect?
That's the entire 6%.
Yes, it is.
So it's
For 6
about
months.
18 to the employees and 18 to the city.
Right, for 6 months. Goes into effect January the 1st.
Do we still have time to look at it, change it if we deem necessary?
All we've got to do is HR's got to run something else through.
Can we have that information tomorrow so we can look at it, add it to the agenda for next week?
We will make
I don't
every,
want to make a decision now without having numbers in front of me and see what's.
I'm not sure what information we're being asked to provide, but we'll provide anything that we have. Fred, would you?
We can give them the,
Bids sheet.
we give them the bid sheets, what we've got now, what they bid out like it is now, and then the other two things that they came up with, we can do that. We can give them what the 6% is gonna be for per month, and we can tell them how much that we've got in the budget, expecting to cover that, and what else you need.
Can we put that out to them tomorrow on email?
Okay, well, let's put that on the agenda for the special call that we're thinking about having on the 18th. Is that okay with everybody? Now, what time on the 18th are we all talking?
I thought it was already done.
5 o'clock, 5 o'clock is the time that I was understanding that we were gonna call it for.
Okay. All right. What else is on that agenda?
The Tansy sewer, and then I was gonna probably put some of these second and third readings on there.
What's the next?
No, the 19th is the downtown work session.
This is a special call on things, so.
Did I get that wrong too?
No, I had.
I think, yeah, the third one should be sent out Monday. It was a bad day, Monday morning. Tuesday, the 18th is the special call on Tansy sewer. Wednesday, the 19th is the work session on the downtown project.
Okay. It'll be just fine. I've got to pick up my daughter, 19. Okay.
I have one more, you know.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this has to do with I'm asking for an increased pay for the auxiliary firefighters and the police officers. I've got the numbers on this one. And, well, I don't, well, it's a little bit elusive, and I say it's elusive because the cost of the city is relative to the budget. The volunteer firemen and volunteer police officers are budgeted to perform so many hours or have so much money spent for them. I wish to increase their salary from $8.40 an hour to $10.50 an hour. They've not had a raise in 4 years. These individuals go out, they risk themselves, and they go out there, and in the case of the firemen, they go out there and they pay for their own fire training, and they come in here and they work for $8.40 an hour. That's just unacceptable to me. I think, as close as I can tell, for a whole year, given the number of money, hours that was spent for, or budgeted for the volunteer firemen last year, it will increase the yearly cost if we do the same amount of hours, of $1,000. The police officers, I don't have a copy of the budget, I did not get that. But we're talking about $1,000, or in this case, maybe $500 for the remainder of the year, the fiscal year. And $10.50 is not much to ask for a man in uniform if they're working, risking his life.
Do we have a motion to increase the auxiliary and volunteer wages of the fire department and the police department to $10.50 per hour for the remainder of this budget year?
Yes,
Is
that's
that
my
pretty well
motion.
something? I'll be glad to second that motion. Floor is now open for discussion. Being no further discussion, roll call vote.
Councilman Sousa?
Aye.
Councilman Wyatt?
I've got one comment, Mayor. I was behind you there. I think that we should have ran this by our city manager before we jumped comment on this, but I agree with Councilman Susan. So I vote aye.
Councilman Curley, Councilman Marlowe, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna vote aye also, but for further reference, I'd like to see our agenda be a little more where that I can follow it and where that I can prepare for the meetings, because when we have something come up, matters relative to the city charter, we've got a big book, and there's no way that I know what we're going to be discussing. Also, the same thing with the airport. There's no way I can get ready for a meeting if I don't know what we're going to be discussing. And I would just like in the future to have a little more information on the agenda of what's going to be brought up in the meetings.
George, I'll do better. I'll do better. Give me time.
Did you vote aye?
Aye.
Councilman Curley? Aye. Mayor Graham?
The motion carries. And please, if you will, Miss Sally, put the comments that Mr. Marlowe made in regard to the information request as a matter of record.
I will do that.
Item number 7 tonight is the city attorney's report. Mr. Chapman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of council. Mayor, you got this knack for catching in the men's room, Mayor. I'll be brief. There are no new lawsuits filed in the last 30 days, and that's a good thing. And I don't have anything that needs to be shared this evening as far as existing lawsuits. If you don't have any questions, I'll put my report, Mayor.
Any questions from the council?
No news is good news, is it?
Always. Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chadwell. Now, it comes time for the city manager's report. Mr. White.
Thank you, Mayor. Sales tax collections for the month of September are slightly off at $563,000. That's a decline of approximately $5,000 from last September. Year-to-date collections are still up by approximately $34,000 year-to-date. Wholesale beer tax collections for the month of October were $52,878, showing an increase of $8,126. The year-to-date collections for our wholesale beer tax are up slightly at about $5,000. Our retail liquor inspection fees for October were $33,078. That's an increase of $7,000 over last year's for the same period. Year-to-date collections are up by almost $12,000, or a 10% increase. There were 23 building permits issued in November by Mr. Curley and Kyle, valued at $3,716,000. They collected fees of $13,308. Next, we have a retirement to announce this evening of Captain Keith Dunbar in the fire department. He's retiring January 31st, 2013, after 36 years of service. We are requesting council to approve a budget amendment to support his payment in his retirement of $5,433, comprised of vacation pay of $1,500, retirement bonus of $3,500, and a retirement gift of $533 as calculated by the number of weeks that he's been employed.
By the recommendation of the city manager, I so move. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The motion carries. Please continue.
Thank you. I'd like to make an apology, offer an apology to Councilman Sousa. He had requested that I include in my city manager's report the city's total debt. And I've worked diligently to get that debt rounded up, and I have it, and I'm ready to report it, but I did not get it on the internet for people to see it, so I apologize, Councilman. And I've spoken with Valerie that helps me put this report together, and I assure you that it will be on next month's report. I will speak it as it exists today. In the general fund, we have a total indebtedness of $8,665,000. In the water and sewer fund, we have an indebtedness of $24,100,000 $24,165,565. That's $24,100,565. At Catoosa, we have an indebtedness of $6,603,099. The total indebtedness of the city presently is $39,368,664. That's $39,368,664. I have one final item I'd like to report that I know is on everybody else's mind as well as mine. I spoke with Jerry yesterday out at the Meadow Park, and he informed me that Meadow Park Lake is presently below normal pool by 96 inches. Holiday Hills is 21 inches below normal pool. So I just thought that you would find that interesting, and I wanted to report that. Thank you, Mayor.
Further comments, questions, or concerns of the city manager? This meeting is adjourned.
I have several documents to be signed.